Hello doctors, this is Dr. Ilma. Today I'll be discussing about a short yet very important topic from epidemiology. Epidemiology is considered to be one of the most feared and concerning topic in Plab 1 exam because we don't know how to study it. However, you will get about 7 to 10 questions from epidemiology, and believe me, among 5 to 7 questions, or maybe all of them, will be purely mathematical. So, those mathematical questions are not that difficult and very much doable if you read the formulas accurately and you know what to study, which formulas to study. So let's get started with our today's topic, which is sensitivity and specificity. Now, the questions you will get from this topic is basically mathematics most of the time. So, suppose you are doing a screening test on leukemia and you have taken about 500 people. So, your total subject is 500. Now, after the screening test you have done among these 500 people, you found that about 120 of them have a positive screening test. So here 120 is test positive group, which means what? That the remaining 380 people didn't show any positivity in their screening test. So the 380 is your test negative. After you found those 120 people, you will try to diagnose whether they actually have leukemia or not, for which you will go for the definitive procedure, which is in this case is bone marrow study. So after you have done bone marrow study in these 120 people of test positive group, you found that about 30 people shows features of leukemia in their bone marrow. So these 30 people among the 120 test positive group actually have leukemia, and they had a screening test positive earlier as well. So these 30 is your truly positive. So remaining 90 people that had a screening test positive but actually do not have leukemia, they are false positive. What about those 380 people? Somehow among those 380 people, 10 of them after bone marrow study showed that they actually have features of leukemia. So initially they didn't have a positive screening test, they are test negative, but they actually have the disease. So they are falsely negative. 10 people are falsely negative, and the remaining 370 people, they have a test negative and also they do not have the disease. So those are truly negative. Okay, so if we try to put all these things into a chart, it will divide or show something like this. Here you have a test positive group, a test negative group, a disease positive group, and a disease negative group. Now those who have a test positive and also have the disease for real, they belong to the true positive group, which is indicated by A. And those who have a positive test but actually do not have the disease, they are falsely positive. They are not sick, but their test result shows that they are positive. So they are falsely positive, which is indicated by B. What about the test negative? Those who had a test negative but actually have the disease, their test negative is wrong, their test result is wrong. So they are falsely negative, which is indicated by C. And those who neither have a positive test and actually do not have the disease either. So those are true negative. They are actually fit people, which is indicated by D. Alright. So if we try to put the data we just talked about into this chart, it will look something like this. Among the 500 people you had started your study with, 120 showed a positive test, so they belong to the test positive group. Remaining 380 belongs to test negative group. Among the 120 who have a test positive and also have the disease, 30 people, they are the truly positive, and those remaining 90 people that have a positive test but do not actually have the disease, they are the false positive group. And among the 380 test negative group, 10 somehow have the disease. So their test is negative but they actually have the disease. So their test result is wrong, which means they are falsely negative. And the remaining 370, they are truly negative. They are healthy. Okay. So this is the chart that you need to know to solve all the formulas, all the maths that's going to come regarding sensitivity and specificity in your question, in your exam, Plabon exam. So you just make this chart in your paper whenever you have a stem like this, and write A, B, C, D like this, and then put the data accordingly, the numerical numbers, and then see what the question is asking. You can just put the formula and then put the data from this chart and solve the question very easily. So what are the formulas? These are your formulas. Sensitivity equals to A divided by A plus C. Here A means truly positive. So sensitivity is truly positive divided by true positive plus false negative. Specificity is D divided by B plus D. So here D means truly negative divided by false positive plus truly negative. What about PPPV? Okay, PPPV is positive predictive value and NPPV is negative predictive value. These two are also connected to sensitivity and specificity, and you can solve the math from this chart alone. Like you are given the formula like PPPV equals to A divided by A plus B, which means true positive divided by true positive plus false positive, and NPV, which means D divided by C plus D, so true negative divided by false negative plus truly negative. Okay, so these are the mathematical formulas you need to know. This is very important. This is all you need to know, this formula and the chart, how you put the data. Of course, I'll show you in a while how you put the data from a scenario. So this is the like some theoretical part from this topic. You need to know what is sensitivity and what is specificity. Sensitivity refers to those people who are actually sick, and specificity regards those people who are actually fit, who are actually healthy. What is PPPV? Positive predictive value. It is the percentage of positive, which indicates those who are truly positive, and NPPV indicates those who are truly negative. Now, sometimes you will have questions with very big stems, but it will just ask at the end, what is sensitivity? What is specificity? So you just directly mark these in the options. Sensitivity means those who are actually sick, and specificity means those who are actually healthy. So that's why these 4 lines are very important. There is no other theory regarding sensitivity specificity in your epidemiology for Plabon exam. Okay, so let's see some scenarios or actual questions that you might get in your exam paper. Okay, to solve any question in your Plabon exam, the first tip is you always start by reading the last line. Always, no matter how big the stem is, how many datas are given there, doesn't matter. You always start by reading the last line, because when you're reading the last line, that is the actual question that they are asking you. Like in here, it says, what is the positive predictive value for the new scanning method? So you already know what they're asking. They're asking about PPPV. So now your mind has already come close to what was PPPV. It was A divided by A plus B. You already remembering that. So that helps you in solving questions more easily, and also you will have multiple systems in your exam paper, they will have questions from many systems. You will not know whether it's from epidemiology or not, but if you read the last question, you will know where the question is coming from and what are they asking. So it saves a lot of time, and also helps you to solve it correctly. Okay, this is a recall, by the way. This question, it came on May 2022. So if you get a question like this, like you have already read the last line, what is the positive predictive value, they're asking about pppv, and then you see just behind, just above, they have already given you an organized data. Okay, like positive, negative, cancer, no cancer, which means disease positive and disease negative. So they have already organized it for you. You do not have to write it down in your draft paper separately. You can just write down in here A, B, C, and D, and then you go on with solving your question. You know what is pppv. Pppv means A divided by A plus B, which in here would be 150 divided by 150 plus 450, which means 150 by 600, 1 by 4, 0.25. So there you go, you have your answer, 0.25. Sometimes the options might be in percentage, so in that case you just multiply your answer with 100, which is 25%. There you go, that's your answer. Now, how much time did it take me to solve this question? Even when I was explaining it to you guys, it didn't take more than a minute. I think it took even less than a minute. And when you know how to interpret your questions like this way, any topic, no matter which system it's coming from, you will see that most of your questions you are able to answer them in less than a minute. You really do not need 1 minute for every question. Okay, only if you know how to read your question. Okay, so this is a very good example. You can have similar questions from the same type of scenario, like they might ask you about what is the sensitivity. So in that case, it would be, we know that sensitivity is, okay, we will write down first of all A, B, and C, D. You know what is sensitivity. Sensitivity means A divided by A plus C. So 150 divided by 150 plus 50. So 150 divided by 200, which means 3 divided by 4. Ultimately, you will have 0.75 or 75%. Okay, see, I didn't even explain this one, and it didn't take me 1 minute. Even when I did the math, right, or I wrote it down and did the math, it still took me less than a minute. That's how you answer it. That's how you get your answers quickly and manage your time during the exam day. All right. Okay, this next question is very important. This is important because you need to read your questions very carefully. Now, I have been telling you people from the very beginning, you always start by reading the last question, the actual question. Like in here, it's asking, what is sensitivity? Now tell me, like, does it need any mathematical calculation at all? It's a theoretical question. What is sensitivity? You know what is sensitivity. Sensitivity refers to those who are sick. Sensitivity is those who are sick people. All right. So you do not need to look at this chart, let alone this stem at all. This is irrelevant, not important. You don't need to. You saw what is sensitivity. You start looking in your options. Where is the sick people? Actually sick, actually sick. You found it. You mark it in your paper. It will take you about 10 to 20 seconds, or maybe even less. Okay, it took you about 2 to 3 seconds to solve the question, and it will take you at most 10 seconds to mark it down in your paper. So that's why you need to always read the last line of your question, no matter how big the stem is. Doesn't matter. No matter how big your options are, even doesn't matter. You always start by reading the last line, and then go one line back, then another, according to need. Like in here, when I read what is sensitivity, I do not need to look down at any of these topics at all. Irrelevant, not important. Okay. Okay. uh okay, those who are actually sick, done. Question solved, done. Okay, another scenario, another recall from February 2022. Let us just continue with our typical protocol. Read the last line. Which term accurately describes the 39 women? Okay. Now it's safe to look at your options first. Like, no, it is not a mathematical question. They're just asking about the status of the 39 people, the 39 women that belong to, which group they belong to, from the chart that I showed you earlier. Now always go one line back, or whenever, like here 39 is asking, you look for where is the 39 in your stem. Okay, here it is. Where is the line starting from? Here. Of those who went for a biopsy, 39 of them had a histology that showed pre-malignant changes. Okay. Now, if you have practiced enough and you are confident enough, you should be able to answer the question only by reading these two lines. Like, you should already know the answer to this question. But since I'm explaining this to you for everyone, like there may be some beginners as well, so I'll continue to explain. So after you have read this line, you start you think that no, maybe I have to read it a little bit more. So without, like, you do not need to start from the start. You need to just look for where the number have started, where the numerical data started from. It started from here. So where is the line starting from? Here. Okay, so you start reading from this portion. Finally, a month back, total of 10,000 women. So you already know this is regarding a study or survey, something where the test subject total group of people were 10,000. This is your total number. Okay, so 10,000 women are studied to evaluate pre-malignant and malignant cervical lesions by this new smear test. All 10,000 women were screened for cervical cancer using the smear test. 1,300 of these women had an abnormal test. What does abnormal test mean? It means this is test positive. So 1,300 women, they belong to the test positive. There you go. You have the this part. This is 13,000, 1,300. Sorry. Okay. All 1,300 women who had an abnormal smear underwent colposcopy and biopsy. Of those, now you have already read this line, of those who went for biopsy, 39 of them had a histology that shows pre-malignant. So this 39 belongs to this group, which means that this 39 had a positive test as well as their disease positive. So they belong to the A group, which is true positive. See, this is your answer. It's very easy. Very easy. You just, this is your answer. So you put down 1,300, then you see they belong to this group. This is your answer. Now, if you noticed, I said you should be able to answer this question, just by reading these two lines. First, you read the question. Which term accurately describes the 39 women? Then you go one line back. Of those who went for biopsy, 39 of them had a histology that shows pre-malignant changes. So 39 have the disease, that's for sure. Now this is of those who went biopsy. Now you will not be doing a biopsy in a test negative group. Of course not. You will only do this definitive. It's an invasive procedure. You will do it only to those group that are actually positive. Those are test positive. So 39 belongs to test positive and also disease positive. So they belong to group A, which is true positive. See, that's how you solve the questions very quickly, very easily. Only if you know how to interpret your questions, like I'm trying to show you. That's how you can interpret not just epidemiology, any question from the systems and topics covering the plab exam. You can solve them just like this. Otherwise, it was not possible to solve these big STEM questions in 1 minute. If you just start reading from here, a group of people, workers and health, these are like irrelevant. Do you need to know these lines? You do not need to know these lines to solve your question. You do not even need these lines as well. You just need these two lines, last two lines. Okay, so that's you should always aim to start your question by reading the last line, and then just go one line back, one line back, one line back. That's how you do it. Okay. Okay, same scenario, another question, but the last line is slightly different. Which term accurately describes the 1300 women? 1300 women, you'll go one line back, you do not find the 1300 women. Okay, so let's just see where is the 1300 women. You search, here it is, the 1300 women. So you read this line: all 10,000 women were screened for cervical cancer using the smear test. 1300 of these women had an abnormal smear. What does abnormal smear means in this term? It means test positive. And all these 1300 had an abnormal smear, which means this 1300 belongs to test positive. And that is your answer, dear doctors. This is your answer, test positive. That's how you can solve your questions. Less than a minute, most of the questions. Okay, that's all for today. Hope I was able to explain today's topic, and I hope it comes in help for many of you. Thank you very much. Good day.